Here are the 6 marketing books that helped me bring in over $40 million in revenue in my businesses. Guys, books are kind of what built me over the years. I remember I didn't like to read books early on, but then as I started hitting blocks and didn't know how to drive revenue and build a business, the first place I ended up turning was books. Inside of this episode, I'm going to dive deep on these 6 books and how you too can do better marketing through a $20 piece of content and grow your business too. All right, cool. So going all the way back to when I thought I was a marketer, but really had no clue what I was doing. I graduated college from a small college here in Oregon called Oregon Institute of Technology. Shout out to the Hustlin' Owls. And I graduated with a marketing and entrepreneurship degree. And what I didn't realize was what I learned in college about marketing had almost no bearing to what actual marketing worked well in the real world, okay? And so I dove out there into the real world, didn't get a job for that first year as an entrepreneur, straight out of college, and thought I was going to be a marketer, thought I was going to build a real estate investing business leveraging marketing, and then thought I would be a marketing consultant. And what I would learn really, really quickly was I didn't know what marketing actually was. I thought marketing was branding. I thought marketing was some other basic things, but I did not understand the nuances and the essence of what it truly takes to be able to take a product, take a message, get a message, that right message in front of somebody, and then drive someone into that product and actually exchange money, okay? So the very first marketing book that I really picked up that I would call a pure marketing book, well, it's one probably none of you on this podcast have probably heard of. It's called The Irresistible Offer, okay? The Irresistible Offer is by an author named Mark Joyner. Now, Mark Joyner is kind of one of the original OGs of the internet marketing world back then. My good friend Russell Brunson, Mark Joyner was a big influence on him early on, and Mark Joyner was a big influence on me as well in those early years. Now, this book here, if you're already a marketer or you would consider yourself beyond basic or an expert marketer, you probably don't need this. I'll show you another one later that goes more advanced into offers. But one of the biggest things about marketing that we get wrong when we're starting off in business is an offer, is making the offer. Now, as a real estate investor or an agent, the types of clients that I tend to work with through my software company, Carrot, making an offer on a piece of property is a little bit different, but it overlaps from what I'm talking about here. But when we're marketing, we can't just put out a good message. We have to drive people to what Mark calls an irresistible offer. So I'm going to walk through a couple key concepts that I learned from this book that really set the stage for me to start to become a better marketer. Because if you nail your offer, if you nail the thing that I'm actually going to ask you as a prospect to do, everything else upstream becomes way, way easier. You can have the best marketing with a terrible offer and it's not going to work. You can have an amazing offer with mediocre marketing and it's going to take off. So a couple things in here. The first thing that Mark Joyner walked through is he actually walked through a specific order and a path on how to make an offer. He said, do this first and then bring in social proof and then eliminate the objections and reverse the risk. And that was one concept that he talked about in here is how do you reverse the risk? How do you make the offer completely irresistible? And in that concept of reversing the risk is how do we make it to where when someone gets to a point where they're ready to take action or they're kind of hesitant on taking action, we remove all of the risk from that person and put it on us. How do we remove all the risk from that person and put it on us? Because oftentimes we as entrepreneurs are making offers that puts all the risk on the prospect. And so if the risk is on the prospect of making that investment and making the decision and hoping that that product or service pays off, then your conversion rates are going to be low and their confidence of making that investment with you is going to be low. So reverse the risk, put all of the risk on yourself. One way I did that, so with each one of these books, I'm going to give a quick example of how I use the concept out of it. One way I did that was the very, very first offer I ever made back in 2000, I guess it would have been 2007. I was doing consulting for a company, first real offer out to an audience I didn't know. I was consulting for a company and they wanted to put together an ebook. So the CEO of that company up here in Portland, Oregon said, Trevor, let's get an ebook together on this and I want to sell it. They were an insurance company. They did a specialized type of an insurance product that was not really well known in the industry yet called a structured sale. It was a type of an annuity, structure settlement annuity. And so we put together the ebook. I put together a sales letter based off of some of the concepts I learned in this, and I reversed the risk. I essentially said, if this book does not give you these results and these outcomes and this level of confidence, we will double your money back. Okay, we said not only will we give you your money back, but we'll give you your money back plus double it if you don't get these results or you're not happy with this. We didn't have one person ever ask for that, but it dramatically increased the sales in our products. We've done the same thing with so many of our other products. The next thing, after I went through the Irresistible Offer, is book number 2, which is a bestseller by a guy named Robert Cialdini, and it's called Influence. Okay, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. Now, when I dove into marketing through the Irresistible Offer, what that opened me up to was that marketing is far beyond just tactics of where do I put a message and how to structure a letter or structure an ad. That really is what you do after you do what I'm about to walk you through. Okay, Irresistible Offer opened me up to psychology in marketing. When we really think about marketing and sales, we can't be an effective salesperson or marketer without understanding how humans work, without understanding how humans make decisions, without understanding the crazy ways that we think to actually move towards making a confident decision, whether we're buying a pack of gum or we're selling a house or buying a piece of software or buying a car. When you can understand the psychology of what your prospects are going through to make that decision, then we can ethically guide them in a way that helps them make the best decision for them and make it lowest resistance. What I'm not talking about is mind control. Okay, you can use these principles, y'all, for good, or you can use them for bad. You can use them like people like Adolf Hitler used psychology principles and persuasion principles to persuade millions of people to move towards a very, very bad mission. Okay, so these principles can be used for bad, but what I'm saying is I think it's our duty as amazing marketers to understand human psychology and understand the tools that we can use to connect with our audience and move them towards truly good causes or truly good products. If we aren't armed with these things, the people who are selling bad products or towards evil causes, if they're armed with this, then we're all in trouble. So we want to arm the good guys and gals with this information too. So in Influence, there's a couple key concepts. Now, Robert Cialdini, he's a psychologist. And when you go through this book, there's a lot of psychology experiments. It's very experiment driven, which is one of the reasons I love the book. It talks about this experiment and that experiment. And there's a couple key concepts I want to share with you that I loved and learned from the book. Okay. These two concepts were massive for me in growing my first company in 2008 from zero to about $500,000 a year in that next 18 months. Okay, the first one is the concept of reciprocity. Okay, what is reciprocity? Well, he goes into reciprocity in a deep way in this book, and he shows actual experiments and psychology trials where they go through and use reciprocity to show, hey, does this work to drive a better outcome? Reciprocity is essentially, if I give you something of value, you're more likely to give me something back. Now, we shouldn't always give something to somebody expecting something back, but as an example, if I were to give you a free report on my website, or I give you a free part of our product to trial and use, or I give you a free book, or I give you a free sample. So when's the last time you were walking down at the farmer's market and they had some samples? And if you take the sample and eat the sample, you are more likely to then go buy the thing because the person did it for you. Now you want to return the favor. If you like that product at all, we actually start to feel guilt that we didn't return the favor and pay them back something. When you look at Costco and going around, we were just there last week, a part of their model is literally built around reciprocity. That when I go around Costco with my kids and my wife and they're tasting the samples, we are tasting the samples, and deep down for most of us, not all of us probably, we have this tinge of, oh my gosh, am I taking advantage by taking all this value and not returning it back? Okay, so ask yourself, what can I give my prospects for free that's truly valuable, or how can I help them? The very first way I used reciprocity was this. Early on, after I had learned Irresistible Irresistible Offer, I'd started to learn how to put together an offer, but I still didn't nail it. So I wasn't making any money. This is back in 2006, 2007. And so I said, okay, read this book. Let me now go and actually just do work for people for free. Okay, let me propose to these small businesses what I think they need to do on their websites to make it convert better or make it rank better, because I started to learn how to rank things in Google pretty well, which ended up becoming the core competency of our software here at Carrot.com. And I said, well, I'm already not selling these services. I'm striking out every time. Why don't I just do the work for them for free? I'll give them all the advice for free, and then I'll even do the work for them. And so I did. I started finding these small businesses. So rather than selling or pitching them something, I said, well, here's what you need to do to get it higher. Take this and give it to your web person, or I'd be happy just to do it for you, for free if you needed help with it. And many people took me up on it. You want to know the crazy thing is almost every person who took me up on that ended up asking, well, you did this for me. Can I just hire you to do more work? Reciprocity is huge. You're going to start to see reciprocity all around you leveraged and used. The second key concept, which I'm not going to go into in detail, is commitment and consistency. The third one is really social proof, that we need to use social proof often. If you're driving down the street and you see two restaurants, one that has a full parking lot and people inside, one that has an empty parking lot, you don't know how good the food is, but you are going to move and probably go towards the one that seems like it's busy. That's social proof. Okay. With commitment and consistency, it's that we have a tendency to do the thing that we take light and small commitments to. So the first time I learned this, after I read this book, I went and bought a car. I was looking for a used vehicle back in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And I sat down with a used car salesman, and I knew what he was doing to me. That was the magic of this book and this next one that I'm going to bring up, which is also a psychology book. I had started to recognize, oh my gosh, this used car salesman is doing these things to me. I don't know if he recognizes the psychology principles behind what he's doing, but he's doing this to me. So we talked about a truck. We sat down. We even got to some semblance of a price using the tactics and techniques that they do. Then he turned the paper, put it in front of me, and he drew a line with an X by it. And he said, if you just sign this, it wasn't even a contract. It was literally, if I would have signed that, it would have meant nothing legally. Okay. He literally just drew it on a piece of paper. And he said, just sign this, just saying that if I go back and I'm able to get this number, get this payment from my manager, that you'll drive away here today with that truck. And I looked at that. I'm like, there's literally no reason I should be signing that, because there's no terms around it. It's just to try to get me to do something. I did not sign it, and I did not walk out with that truck. What he's trying to do is if I signed on that, that is a small commitment. He knew he could go to his manager and come back with that price or with that payment, and I would have then had to feel like I had to follow through on that commitment. That's commitment and consistency. Anytime we can get people to say yes or make micro commitments on something, it's easier once it comes time to actually ask for the sale. Okay. The third book, Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. And you can't miss this cover. Go look for it. It's an orange and blue cover. Predictably Irrational, the hidden forces that shape our decisions. After I had read those books, Irresistible Offer, Influence, I'm like, oh my gosh, so much of marketing is not what I thought it was. It wasn't the tactics. It wasn't the techniques. It was understanding how humans work and how we can ethically trigger those things that are innately within us to guide someone towards a product or service that can truly help them and serve them in exchange of value. Okay, that's what it's about. And so inside of Predictably Irrational, Dan Ariely took us even deeper into some of these principles, and they do a lot of psychology experiments in there as well. And so when we're looking at some of these are some of the core concepts I pulled out of this book early on, okay? Fallacy of supply and demand. So when people see that there's few of these things over here, they're willing to pay more for those, or they want them more. Okay, I was watching the cartoon Bluey with my kids the other day. They love that cartoon. And in the cartoon, two of the main characters, the kids, they were kind of battling over a toy, and then one of them basically said, okay, I don't really want the toy, They laid it down, everyone went over and did something. And it wasn't until the other kid ran over and said, no, I want that toy, that the original kid said, no, I want that toy. That kid did not want that toy 20 seconds before because there wasn't demand for it. The second that there was demand for it, they now wanted it more, and they were willing to pay more for it. Not in that case, but a consumer is willing to pay more for it. Okay. There's other things as well. The cost of zero cost. What is the ramification of a product that's free? So they did tests where they literally gave people candy for free versus candy for really cheap. Okay. And they did this blind experiment. And when the candy was free, people actually thought that there was a hook. People actually thought that there was a catch. And so they actually got fewer people to take the candy that was free because they thought that there was a catch than the people who only had to pay a penny or 10 cents for that candy, because the person felt, okay, there's a cost. I'm exchanging the cost. So we have to ask ourselves that question in our marketing. Do people feel like there's a catch? Do people feel like they have an exchange of value, or do they feel like it's too good to be true? Okay, so many other concepts in here, guys. Dive in more than I can even go into this video. So now I've started to stack up my understanding of how we work. If you want to be an amazing marketer, amazing salesperson, we have to understand how humans move towards the process of decision. Like I said, everything I'm walking through, I want to guard you, because this can be used for evil. It can be used for moving people towards decisions that are not good for them. Scam artists use these principles because they know that they work. But we want to use this for good. We want to use this to create amazing products and get them in the hands of people where it truly can make their lives better. So now I'm like, okay, now I need to learn how to actually market. Okay, so the next book that comes up that I read, I started getting into Dan Kennedy material. And with Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer is one of the guys that Dan Kennedy works with a lot. And Bill's an amazing advertiser. And so this one's called Outrageous Advertising That's Outrageously Successful. I needed to start to learn how to put together these concepts and the messaging and everything into actual marketing campaigns that would work. Okay, and so inside of this book, Bill Glazer goes through a bunch of examples. He walks through, how do you do advertising that's actually effective? How do you do a direct mail piece that's effective? He compares good marketing versus bad marketing and really shows you how to make it like what he calls outrageous. Okay. And so the table of contents of this one, some of the core things I really learned, outrageous produces results from everyone, meaning if I can be outrageous and really put something out there that catches notice, not only do I catch that small sliver of people who are paying attention to that direct, boring message, but if I'm outrageous, a lot more people catch attention, and you're going to be able to drive everyone in one direction or another. They're either going to come to me, which a lot more are going to come to you when you're outrageous with your marketing, or they're going to move away from you, which is just fine as well. Okay. Another few things he talks about it is marketing is systematic. It shouldn't be just random. And he walks you through how to make your advertising and marketing systematic so you can make it repeatable. You can make it scalable. Okay. And then he walks through the 3 piles of advertising and so many other concepts, response boosters, the rubber band mailer, how do you present critical components, harnessing the power of testimonials, using the most impactful tools, reminding people until they buy, using premiums to skyrocket response, using holidays and occasions to drive up response, sampling some outrageous ideas, and he gives lots and lots of examples. Okay, but one concept that I remembered in here deeply before I move on to the next book is the 3 piles of advertising. When you're looking at it from a direct mail perspective, or you could think about it from an email or text message perspective as well, is when you're sitting there opening your email or your mail, there's 3 piles. This one goes immediately to trash, right? That's one that didn't get you to open it, didn't pique curiosity, didn't give you a reason to open it. You immediately knew it was going to sell you something, and without even opening it, you were going to shut that, or you were going to throw it away. Okay, that's the first one. The next one is the immediate open. Oh my gosh, I need to open this one. The third one is it's the pile I'm going to look at it later. And he says, how do you get in that bucket of immediate open? And he walks you through how to use the right messaging to be the marketing that immediately gets open, that immediately gets consumed because the prospect wants to see it. So as I started to grow as a marketer, once again, the psychology traits, learning how to actually market effectively and get the right message and learn how to do copywriting. I'm not even sharing my copywriting books in here. We may do a whole another series of my top 3 to 5 copywriting books in here. But then I'm like, well, I need to learn how to actually do marketing at a strategic level more effectively. So I picked up this book probably in 2008, 9, 10, when we were doing about about $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year in revenue between my businesses, and I needed to make it more systematic. Perry Marshall's book, 80/20 Marketing, 80/20 Sales and Marketing, the definitive guide to working less and making more. I suggest every single person pick that book up. Now, there's a couple key concepts Perry teaches in this book I think everyone should learn. Back towards the end of the book, he brings up essentially the time value. Okay, he calls it your value per hour. So in this book that I've got right here, page 119, he says, hey, how do you make more money? Do you want to make more? Do you want to make $10 an hour, $100 an hour, 1,000 or 10,000? Well, we have to understand how we value our time. And he lays out in this table specifically the marketing activities we should do if we want to move from $10 an hour work and pay to $100 to $1,000 to $10,000 an hour. Okay, when you move into $10,000 an hour work as a marketer, it's things like improving your unique selling proposition, creating new and better offers, repositioning your message and position, executing, bolt from the blue, brilliant ideas, negotiating major deals, selling to high value customers and groups, things like that, selecting the right team members, public speaking, establishing venues and culture or values and culture. Let's go to the $10 an hour. Okay, running errands, talking to unqualified prospects, cold calling, building and fixing stuff on your website, doing expense reports, working social media the way most people do it, cleaning, sorting, attending meetings, driving to meetings. You get the idea, okay? But he walks through several other things in here that helps you actually take the 80% of marketing that you're doing that is not effective, throw it out the window, and focus on the 20% that's actually working to scale the business up. The last and final book that I'll share in this list, I probably could have brought you 20 books on here on marketing. I've probably read 100 marketing books over the years. But this one, I became good friends with the author of this book, Russell Brunson, Expert Secrets. So Russell has written many, many books on the topic of marketing. Now, I've got the whole series behind me, from .com secrets to expert secrets, all the way up to traffic secrets and more. And the reason that Expert Secrets was so powerful, when I was in Russell Brunson's mastermind with guys like Alex Hormozy and those types of players, I was in the room when Alex and Layla were there shifting their business model to what it is today. What Russell talks about is a very strategic standpoint of how do you become an expert. Not just put marketing out there, not just do some things and have a good tactic, a good email, a good ad, but how do you truly become an expert authority in your space, because that creates a moat around everything that you do. By the time I read this book and got introduced to Russell, I was already doing content marketing, already building authority, already really driving that expertise. This book gives you step-by-step paint by numbers approach to dialing in your message, to really dialing in what it is that we need to do to build the business, how to create a movement in your business, the 3 different types of markets that you should be focusing in, exactly what your pages may look like, how do you map out your offer in a more detailed strategic level, the whole thing, guys. So if you want to master marketing, master sales, and master becoming an expert, highly suggest reading Expert Secrets, the underground playbook to find your message, build a tribe, and change the world. So those are the 6 marketing books I'm going to introduce you to you today, and I gave them to you in order of me experiencing them and how they really stacked on my knowledge. What I want you to learn from this is, over the years, my companies have brought in north of $40 million of revenue of our own companies, not the dozens of millions of dollars in revenue, tens and tens of millions of dollars in revenue that our ecosystem has created around us. Okay, and all of that came from these concepts, starting and understanding how humans work, not just marketing tactics, the psychology of it, so we can know where and when and how we can best resonate with our prospects, how to make amazing offers that really resonate with people, okay, because the offer is where most people fall flat. And then how do I actually advertise effectively? What does it look like? How do you campaign things well? What works to actually make a marketing campaign work? And then strategically into the 80/20 principle of how do I look at marketing as a whole from a strategic standpoint? And then bam, how do I stack on top of all of that, building a moat around our brand with an authority expert that really drives the things forward. If you enjoyed this video, I've got other videos on my top leadership books as well, my top mindset books, and pop a comment below here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or hit me up on Instagram with a DM. That's trevor.mock on Instagram. Let me know what other types of books or topics you want to learn about, and I'll share with you what are the resources that I tapped into to get me where I am today. All right, guys. So like, subscribe wherever you are. If you're on the podcast, what I'd appreciate more than anything is give me a rating and review over there. We're kind of stuck. We're stuck at a dozen or two 5-star reviews over there, y'all. And I would love you more than anything if you could take 1 minute and pop over to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, and just hit your rating, give an honest rating over there, and then give a review. And let's see if we can't pop those reviews up and give this type of a message to more people through the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, make a comment below. I see every single comment. I'm really focused on building this community of entrepreneurs here who want to build businesses of freedom and impact. And this is a new YouTube channel, new podcast. So we're getting going together, and I want to hear from you. What are you enjoying from these series? What are your favorite marketing books? Pop them below. All right, we'll see you on the next video.